What is it you want to know about property, about me, about deals? What is it that you want to know? So I've got some of the questions here. I'm going to go through them right now. If anyone has anything else they want to know, then please drop me a DM or drop a comment below on this video. I'm more than happy to help. So without further ado, the first question is, buying my first property from auction a good idea, or do the prices go too high? Well, it really depends. I know people who have bought way too high at auction, you know, like 50, 60 grand above market value. And I've seen people get insane discounts at auction. Whether or not you pay too much is on you. In an auction, emotions can get high, things can move up quickly, and if you know a deal is good and you want to make it, and you probably spent the last week or two going through all the due diligence, viewing it, sorting out surveys, so on and so forth, you know, it can be easy to start bidding too high. Bidding from auction is fine as long as you know what you're doing. You need to understand the strategy you're doing, which is likely to be a buy, refurb, refinance, or a flip, and you need to understand the risks that are involved with that. Do you know for a fact that you can get your refurb done for the right figure? Have you had builders inside? Do you know how to quote up works for yourself? Do you know how much it's going to cost? Same for the end value. Have you had it valued, or do you actually know how to value a house? Are you confident you're going to get that valuation? Or maybe you're looking a little bit too optimistically. You know, have you allowed a suitable contingency? Because believe me, refurbs nearly always go over budget. You need to make sure you include contingency in your figures. And then have you accounted for everything? If you've done all of that, then yeah, I'd be more than happy to buy my first house at auction if my knowledge is there to support it. If it's not, then hey, if you buy at auction, then you're going to be putting down 10% on that day for your exchange. You're then tied into that and you could lose your money if you don't. It's less risky to buy out of auction, but there can be some fantastic deals there as well. My advice is take someone with you who knows what they're doing if it's your first property. In fact, regardless of where you're buying it from, take someone with you who knows what they're doing before you buy your first property. It can help save you from making a rather costly mistake. What is the best strategy if you work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so no time for viewings? I'd say get someone who can view for you. There's always people who can view for you. I've used friends and family to view for me. I've used Viewber and other services like that. I've taken time out and used my holiday, my annual leave, to take out half a day and go on viewings and stuff like that. You can do Saturday viewings, you can do evening viewings. Just because you work 9 to 5 doesn't mean you can't do viewings. So that's the first thing I'd say. But otherwise, if you want to know what your best strategy is, do you have any capital? Yes or no? Like, these are the questions you've got to start with. If you don't have any money, then, and you're working 9 to 5, deal sourcing is going to be incredibly difficult for you to do. Rent-to-rents are good, but you're still going to need to be working on your lunch breaks, taking out time when you can, if you want to get things moving quickly. Alternatively, if you have money, or you work in a place where you're on a good salary and a lot of people around you on a good salary, then you really need to be raising finance and then just paying deal sources and people like that to find you your deals, to sort everything out for you. That is why deal sources are created, for people like you who work 9 till 5. Maybe they don't even want to quit their job because they love it, but hey, they have money and they know people who have money, and that would really be your best opportunity. Or you could joint venture with someone, just give them the money, leave it, and let it make good money. Make yourself some good profit on a deal like that. You don't have to necessarily put all the time element in. Just weigh up for yourself before you do a joint venture. What do I bring to the table? What do I need from someone else? Okay, I've got capital, but I've got no time. Maybe it's the other way around. There's always someone you can joint venture with to make everything work. So you can do viewings, but if you don't want to, then there are a load of other options there for you. Hope that answers your question. What are my thoughts on sourcing leasehold properties? I love this question because a lot of people have a problem with buying leasehold properties. I do not. I'm literally buying 2 leasehold buy, refurb, refinance projects as we speak. One is a flat, one is a terraced house. The thing when you're buying leasehold is you just need to make sure the lease allows you to do what you want to do with it. So if you want to rent the place out on service accommodation, you've got to make sure your lease allows for it. Can you do refurbs? You know, does your lease restrict what you can do in terms of refurbs? What's the length left on the lease? Can you still get mortgages on it? What's the ground rent? Is it super extortionate, or is it, you know, reasonable and not a huge amount? You just need the lease to be right. Me personally, when I'm first viewing the house, I'll find out how long is left on the lease and how much the ground rent and service charge is. If I get positive answers to both of those, I'll go ahead, put my offer in, and then allow my solicitor who's doing my conveyancing to check the lease over and make sure it's all okay for everything I want to do. If I'm doing service accommodation, then obviously on day one, I check to make sure the lease allows for use as such. So yes, I'm more than happy to buy and indeed sell leasehold properties. I have no problems with them, as long as you check the lease and make sure it allows you to do what you want to do with them. A lot of people have weird sort of fear around leasehold properties. It's a bit of a buzzword, a scare word, a bit like buying from auction. There's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you do your due diligence right. Make sure you got the right people on your team and you'll be fine. Next question, can I spend a day with you? I get asked this quite a lot. I'm more than happy to spend time with people if I'm gonna get some value out of it or they're gonna get some value out of it, but it's gotta be a win-win, right? So if I want to leave my whole day up for you and drop what I'm doing, then I would expect to, get a deal from that or maybe get paid from that. As long as you can offer something of value, I think it's worth giving my day up for it. I'm more than happy to spend a day with whoever it is that wants to do that. Just drop me a DM and let me know what it is you're offering. Preference. Wooden floor or carpet in a lounge on a single let by Refurb refinance? Most likely we're gonna go with a laminate rather than the wooden floor. You could use carpet, either or. The question here is, what does the area need? Now, the likelihood is if you're gonna rent this out, it's not gonna be a 3, 4, 5, 600,000 pound show home because it's better off to flip those. But if you are doing a deal like that, you're probably gonna find that some tiles or maybe some LVT or something along those lines is gonna be more suitable to that property than going for a carpet or a wooden floor, or you might find that wooden floor is better. It depends on the style of the house at that point. On the smaller stuff, we traditionally go with laminate downstairs in the communal rooms because it's a bit more hard wearing and much easier to clean, and we go for carpets in the bedrooms because everyone wants a soft floor and no one wants cold feet when they're going to bed. So that's typically what we do. To be honest with you, it's down to what the area desires. And if you don't know, have a chat with some local letting agents. Those people who are gonna be selling your house or renting it out for you, they're the people that you wanna know, will it cater for the needs of what the property is gonna be used for once you're finished? Hope that helps. How many rental properties do I have in my portfolio? So at the moment I have one that is tenanted, I have 2 that I'm going through purchase and will be refurbed in due course, and I have 1 that is being refurbed and will be sold. So I have 1 tenanted house in my portfolio at the moment, and there will be 3 by the end of the year. That's what's currently going on in my portfolio. What do your parents think of what I do? See, this is really interesting. I spent almost 2 years trying to convince my parents to take some equity out of their home and invest in property because I could see it working. I could see the deals we were doing with clients. Everyone was loving it. But my parents were super risk adverse. They never had any issues with what I was doing. They loved what I was doing. They loved the fact that I was making an income. They loved the fact that I was doing something productive. But for them, property investing was always not something they got involved with. Literally, as of a couple of weeks ago, they've decided to do their first deal and I'm super excited about it. So they're really pumped up for it. They've seen it work. They've seen obviously the results that come through property and now they're very much on board with it. So I'd say they're very happy. Do I have any investors interested in rent-to-rent deals? We have investors interested in just about every deal that comes to mind. So if you've got a deal that you want to work with us on, then there is a link coming up on screen now and below where you can send an email to us and you can send any deals that you want us to sell on to our investors, whether they be rent-to-rents, buy, refurb, refinance, flips, whatever it is that you've got. If you want to sell those through us, then you can do that using the link below. The next question we've got is, what is the best area to invest under £60,000 and then add up to 90K's worth of value to get a good rental return? The answer you're gonna get is not gonna be the answer you're looking for. I would say forget the area entirely. Invest under 60K but make more than 90K in terms of uplift, then just find a deal that does that. Don't worry about what area that's gonna be in because right now that is gonna be pretty much anywhere where the house price that you can get is under 60 grand, which means it's probably gonna be across the M62 corridor or north. Anywhere south of that, it's probably gonna be too expensive, but there are gonna be a few places, no doubt, where you can get those, some of them dotted around the Midlands. Having said that, if you're gonna buy at 60 grand and it's gonna be worth over 150 when you're done, if you do the maths, you'll probably find out it's much, much better off to sell that house rather than keep it, because the yield on that house is gonna be pretty low. And if you sold it, took the profit from selling it, and then invested that in a standard buy to let, you'll make a higher ROI. So again, a bit of a backwards question because it wouldn't make a good rental return if you had those figures. It will make a fairly poor one compared to something that you bought for 50, 60K and was always designed to be a buy to let rather than a flip. Something like this would be much better to do as a flip rather than a buy, refurb, refinance. The other thing I'd add is, if you're buying a house for under 60K, it is highly unlikely you're gonna get an extra 90K's worth of value. And I think when people are looking at doing deals or looking at investing in property, you've got to get out of this mindset of finding the perfect deal because they don't exist. And if you do want the perfect deal and you will only invest in the perfect deal, I guarantee you're gonna be waiting over 2, 3, or 4, or even 5 years before you get this deal. And other people who had the same amount of money in the same position starting out with you, but just took on deals that worked and that were good, maybe some were the best, but some were just good, they're gonna be a hell of a lot further on in their journey after 5 years because they've been doing more deals. And what you need to focus on when you're doing property is not finding the deals that make you 100 grand in a day or that cash flow £2,000 a month from one deal. You just need to do as many deals as you possibly can and make sure that every single one is profitable. If you do that, that's how you'll find the scale. That's how you'll find you get into the next value, rather than looking for something that is the perfect deal. If you've got £60,000 to do a buy, refurb, refinance, then you can help use bridging to help you get that done, but you're gonna be looking at a house that's gonna be worth top end 100, 120K when you're done, and you're probably buying it for something like 40 grand, and you're gonna make £250 a month. That is buy, refurb, refinance. It isn't this crazy thing that's gonna give you 20 grand a month or anything ridiculous like that, or make you 50, 60, 100 grand on one flip from a 60K investment. The only kind of deal that I can think of that will give you a 60K investment and a 90K plus return is gonna be a joint venture with someone on a really big flip or a big development or something like that, or some high risk, peer-to-peer lending on some unsecured lending for, say, some planning fees or something like that for a deal like that where someone needs some soft costs covered. Then you can make those kind of returns, but again, you're gonna have to find someone you can team up with where you can make that happen. If you're looking to do a buy, refurb, refinance or a flip of any sort, and you're an investor looking to do this, then you really need to focus on just finding a deal rather than the perfect deal, because you will end up making more money doing it that way, even though it seems a little bit counterintuitive. Hope that helps. Rent to rent tips. All right, I'm gonna give you my top 3 rent to rent tips. Number 1 is make more phone calls than you've ever made before in your life. If you're not making over 100 phone calls a day, then you're not doing enough phone calls of rent to rents. Second one I'd say is getting with developers rather than agents. Developers who build apartments, especially for things like rent to SA, are much easier to agree terms with than agents are, or if you can find an agent who works directly with the developers, they can help you out there. And the third one I'd say is if you're looking to do rent to HMOs, ideally you want an existing HMO that is run poorly rather than a house that you can convert. The reason being is your refurb costs are gonna be a hell of a lot lower if all you've got to do is go in, give the place a lick of paint, maybe put some new furniture in, but it's already compliant, it's already got a license and everything like that. Much, much easier to get into it, and way less setup cost and way less setup time, meaning you can make more profit quicker. So there's my top 3 tips on doing rent to rent. Where are the cheapest place to buy non-Article 4 HMOs? I would say probably the Northeast. So that's Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Newcastle, etc., because houses are really, really cheap there. Or maybe over into Cumbria or even into Scotland. They're going to be the cheapest places. However, don't necessarily look to buy in the cheapest area, always look to buy in the best area. You want an area where you can immediately fill houses, not the cheapest places to do that. I know a guy who bought a 4-bed HMO in Scunthorpe for £56,000. He spent about 17 grand doing it up, and it makes him £1,500 a month. However, it's let out to DHSS, like local housing authority tenants, and he has a headache probably once a week. He's had burglaries, he's had people going to prison. Just because your house is cheap doesn't mean it's a great investment, and doesn't necessarily mean it's completely passive. So unless you're cut out for that kind of lifestyle, I'd avoid buying in the cheapest of the cheaper areas and look for an area that's actually gonna be best for what it is you wanna do. I wanna thank you guys so much for sending in those questions. I really, really enjoyed going through those. Some of them were very, very interesting, and some great entrepreneurial mindset thinking within all of this. If anyone needs anything or has any questions they wanna know, then please drop me a message. I'd love to help. And if you want to know a little bit more about investing in property, how you can do this, how you can set up your own joint ventures, how you can sell your own deals and find your own leads, why not check out the Property Success Series that I released in January this year, where I literally go through everything. All the different strategies in property from A all the way through to Z, how you find the deal, how you finance it, whether you sell it or keep it for yourself, literally everything all in one place with no upsells. Click the link below if you want to have a look at that and get a little bit more education for yourself. I can't wait to be working with you. Until next time, take care.